Do you want to know how to teach mindfulness to teens? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting, good communication, child development all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. In this video, we're talking about teaching mindfulness to youth. In this video, we're going to be talking about what mindfulness is, and we're going to talk about how to create an environment where you can have conversations about mindfulness with your teens so that they can start making more productive decisions and emotions. There definitely is a difference between productive emotions and non-productive emotions, and many people do not differentiate between those two, but I do, because it is important to notice that, like, say, attachment or love, compassion, caring, those are things that are productive emotions. But then there's non-productive emotions. What about stress, overwhelm, frustration, anger? Those aren't very productive. I mean, occasionally it can be good to identify that we have a feeling, but is it really good to emote those things all of the time on other people? Definitely not. Those can be very toxic emotions, so we have to be really careful. How do we help our children understand mindfulness, especially in a culture that is actually breeding the idea that you should be as aggressive as you can, that aggressiveness is truth, that anger is truth? No, just because it's an emotion does not mean that it is true. And our children are not learning that, and so they are becoming more and more emotional. They are becoming more and more concerned, worried, afraid, maybe even feeling a little bit dark. So what do we do to help them? Well, mindfulness is the thing, helping them understand in their minds what is going on. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking this? How can I change my thinking? What can I do about this? Being able to recognize what's happening, assess that, and then know how their mind and their brain works so that they can move forward is a huge revelatory experience for anyone, but especially for a teen. When a person is mindful, then they're calm, they're present in the moment. They're able to say, okay, what is really happening? Instead of spending their time focusing on excuses or who did whatever, they say, wait a minute, what am I feeling right now? When a person is mindful, they can focus in on their feelings, but if they're really good at mindfulness, they can go beyond that. Because I could say, I'm feeling frustrated right now. But then what happens after the feeling? That's the important thing that we need to know. In fact, our teens need to know this, that we have a feeling. After that feeling, there is a microsecond when we get to have a thought. So what is the thought? Is it a productive thought? Is it a non-productive thought? Did you know that you have complete control over that thought? I know sometimes you don't feel like you do because you keep getting the same thought every time the same feeling happens. It becomes a thought habit. But the thought is something you can change. Your ability to rationalize, to think something through, to problem solve, can create new thoughts for yourself. After the thought comes the emotion. This is when you're actually emoting and trying to get someone to understand where you're coming from. Lots of times people mess things up in the emotion step. And this is because they've already messed up the thought step. Now, was it good that they recognized they had a feeling? Yeah, probably. But everything fell to pieces after that. When you are mindful and you have good mindfulness, then what you do is you don't just stop analyzing at the feeling step, but you take the analysis all the way into the thought step as well as the emotion step. We're going to talk about how to do that, but first, do you see that subscribe button? Click on that button now. It's for you. It's so that you get to see more content just like this. If you need more help with your parenting, if you want somebody to bounce ideas off of, click subscribe. Mindfulness is actually a really therapeutic technique. There are a lot of people who go to see therapists and they're like, what's happening to me? Why is this going on? And a therapist will say, okay, let's back this up, okay? So it's the process of going, let's go back. Let's say, okay, how did things start? What was a feeling that you had? What was a time that you had, right? And then they'll go to the next step. Okay, well, after you had that feeling, what went through your mind? What were you thinking? Right? Then they can analyze with them what they might be thinking. Now, sometimes a person says, I don't know what I was thinking. So then they throw out ideas. Well, could you have been thinking this? Could you have been thinking that? We have to be really careful, though, because sometimes we could lead people in the wrong direction. So hopefully therapists are really cautious about that. But sometimes a person doesn't remember the thought they had or why they end up in a certain state where they're feeling like there's no way out, right? Their emotions have now consumed them. They're past the thought stage and they don't remember having it. Then what we can do is if we can analyze what we felt, what we thought, or maybe possibly what we thought that could lead to this emotion or this action, now what we can do is back it up and we can make a plan for the person to have better thoughts when they have that emotion, more productive thoughts that are then going to lead to productive emotions. So let's just do a for instance here. Let's say, since we're talking about teens, that a teen has a problem shutting down because of stress, okay? Maybe a test. Anytime they have a test, they just stress out and they can't go to school. Well, what's really going on there? You might say to the teen, okay, as soon as the teacher says there will be a test on Friday, how do you feel? Overwhelmed, they might say. Okay, so after you feel that overwhelm, what are you thinking? What do you think immediately after that? I won't be ready by Friday. I can't do it by Friday. I'm not good enough yet. Okay, those are non-productive thoughts. So then after you have those non-productive thoughts, what happens? I start to get stressed and I can't think straight. Yep, because you can't think straight when you're stressed. You're in the wrong part of your brain. When you're in midbrain or back brain, you have hardly any ability to do front brain work. Then you say, okay, well, let's back it up. Once we feel overwhelmed, what is a productive thought that we could teach ourselves to think whenever we feel that feeling? We could think, it's okay, I don't have to be perfect on a test. I just need to put in a few hours of study and then I'll be okay. That's productive. That's something someone could do something with. Or take a deep breath. It's okay, it's just a test. I've done lots of tests before. And even if I'm not perfect on the test, after the test, life is normal anyway. So it doesn't matter. Those are great things. Those are productive thoughts that you could teach yourself. Then when the day of the test comes, remind yourself, it doesn't matter. I've done tons of tests in the past. I don't have to be worried about this because I don't have to be perfect. Those are good productive thoughts for a teen who might be struggling with anxiety related to stress. So you see, you can just back it up for them. Now there's a few other skills that a person can learn that could really help them have some productive thoughts. So I teach self-government. It's a type of parenting, and I've written a lot of books. I've written 11 books related to how to teach your family self-government and how to self-govern yourself. And they all come back to this strategy of what am I feeling or what's going on? What are my thoughts? And then what are my outcomes going to be? It all goes back to that. This is good cognitive behavioral therapy approach to relationships and behaviors. I started doing this with really troubled teens. They were all between the ages of 12 and 18 years old. It was therapeutic treatment care. They did not process the same as everybody else, and they had a lot of trauma. They were stuck in certain places of their brain. Anxiety was just a given in almost every single youth that came to my home. What did I do? I actually started by teaching them 4 basic skills. These 4 basic skills give them key strategies for handling some of those thoughts that are going to be problematic or those feelings that are going to lead to a potential problem. The 4 basic skills are following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. When I recognize that I have a thought in my head, I'm going to stop myself. I'm going to say, wait, no answer, hold on. What's going on here? Then I'm going to give myself an instruction to use the thought that I know is productive. I have to be able to follow through with an instruction to do that. Then if any other thought comes along that tries to throw me off course, I'm going to give that a no answer. And a big part of accepting a no answer is the step to drop the subject, which means I'm not going to think about it anymore. That's dropping the subject. Now, if for some reason I don't hold my course the way I planned, then there's probably going to be a natural consequence. It's probably going to be stress or something like that. Now, when I identify the stress, I can say, this is just a consequence of me not remembering to give myself a no answer and to give myself an instruction to use a different skill. So, what I need to do is accept that that happened, and now I need to move on. What's one of the ways I might move on with myself? I might disagree appropriately with myself inside my own head. These 4 basic skills aren't just used with other people, they're used in ourselves. That's how we know that they are the 4 basic skills of self-government. Self-government really is the key to teaching mindfulness to teens. It's possible, it can feel very natural and normal. One of the key self-government things that we do for mindfulness is also do visions of where we're headed in the future with our relationships. That's a mindfulness activity that holds a lot of power with it and will help the teen see that there is a reason to practice mindfulness in the moment in these other circumstances as well. All of those things are talked about in my TSG parenting course. You can find information about the TSG parenting course and all of these skills on my next video, which is the not so known secret for parenting success. Click on the link to that video next. I'll see you there.